Education is not just the key to the future, it is the bridge between where society is and where it dares to go. Good morning and welcome to Ray's Breakfast. Hashtag what are you saying? This beautiful Friday morning, the start of an already great weekend in the first week of May. On this platform, we're dedicated to amplifying the vibrant voices of the youth towards matters that concerns us all, cutting across all sectors, governance, mental health, technology, education. So you best know if it's of great importance, we're definitely talking about it. Today's segment will open up the current concerns in the Nigerian education sector, and it's my absolute pleasure, as always, to anchor today's show. My name is Oluchi Precious Omeng, and of course, I've got the lady vibe here with me. Good morning, God's beauty.
Good morning, Oluchi. What's the memo? You're looking so beautiful.
Why didn't you tell me this when we did not come on air? You want to show the world that, oh, I can compliment her, but I'll take it. Thank you very much.
What's your problem exactly?
I'm going to shade you by every means possible because you didn't compliment me when I came into this office. Let me tell you something that happened yesterday. So I went out with a friend of mine. And then when the boss, we have been sitting for over 2 hours plus. And then she just stood up and said, nobody has complimented my jean. I just got it yesterday. It was quite funny, and I love the sincerity to own up to the fact that I got something new, say something about it. So I feel that way sometimes, and I was thinking that you're going to compliment me, but it is what it is.
No, but you look beautiful. I mean,
thank you.
On TV, I would have said HOT is what you're looking right now.
HOT, what was that?
HOT.
Oh my God, I'm so old. What's HOT?
Hot.
Oh, stop it. But how are you doing this morning? I mean, it's the weekend. It's a new month, first of all. Then it's the weekend. I wasn't around yesterday, so I didn't know how the whole Workers' Day celebration went. But what's the plan for the weekend?
I think self-care, basically. I mean, we have to go get our lashes done.
Okay. Nails done, hair done.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just under the weather a bit. I don't know, since yesterday I've not really been feeling too well. Yeah. Waking up this morning with headache. If not that, we have to show up somehow. Wow, I prefer being under a DV
I love this vulnerability. You're coming up to tell the audience that we don't always show up as we want to, but we're going to get the show going. And it's good to have you on this table. Today's conversation is really very vital and important. I mean, it's been making waves on social media, the current examination structure, concerns, criticisms, and everything. So we have an expert guest, educational researcher. He's going to be joining us today to open up the conversation. And of course, topics like this interest me a lot as a fresh graduates of the School of First Choice and Nations Pride, if you know what I'm saying. All right, so we're going to take a short break now, and we'll be taking a moment to reflect on significant events that have shaped our world. We're highlighting 2 fascinating milestones. They will be displayed shortly. Afterwards, we'll come back for our headline banter today. So please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us. This is still Ray's Breakfast on a beautiful Friday morning. Remember, our phone lines are open, and we'd like you to communicate with us today on our topic and even the headline stories. You can reach us via 070-2500-7749 or 070-1424-2420. And if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, head on now to the official Upgrade TV, click the subscribe button, like, share the link, tune in to channel 145 on your Go TV, and don't miss this for anything. We're going to quickly take you through the newspapers this morning. We have the Nigerian Tribune, we have the international papers. So let's start with God's beauty on that.
All right, straight into the international paper. We are on the Independent newspaper. By the top red banner, we have FAR bans trans women from playing in female football matches. Then by the main headline, we have Trump's national security, that's chief words, out after failing to shake off group chat blunder. And by the right side, that's a weather story. We have May Day, May Day, hottest May Day on record as 28 recorded in UK. Then the center of the page, that's the last headline on the newspaper. We have Farage fear factor, parties brace for right-wing wipeout. All right, so let's quickly talk a bit about this headline that says FAR bans, that's the Football Association, bans trans women from playing in female football matches. The Football Association FAR has introduced a new rule banning transgender women from participating in female football competitions in England. This decision touches on a highly sensitive and controversial issue, balancing fairness in women's sports with inclusion and rights for transgender athletes. It could set a precedent for other sports bodies and impact many players' careers and identities. Critics argue the ban could be seen as discriminatory, excluding trans women from the sports they love. Supporters claim it's about maintaining fairness and competitive balance. The ruling is likely to spark public debate, legal challenges, and strong emotional reactions from both sides. So I like this story because I think this is actually something that is already, done in the US already. Trump already took out all of the things. I remember we had a conversation around it. So now in England, we have the Football Association that's far. They have, bring in this banning rule, and I feel like it's important in order to, we get the point that you are a trans. We're talking about transgender women are like men. They're biologically, you're biologically men, right? So, but they decided that, okay, they don't like the fact that they are men and they want to be women. Even though some people will tell you that it's, I don't know, some will say it's nature, some will say it's, I don't know what it is exactly. So, let me not, stay further on that here. But on this, what the story is just about is that, the England have taken up the mentorship of, banning anything trans women. Is if you want to, if at all you want to play football, as a man that turned yourself to a woman, just go back to to being a man or something relating to that. But
wow.
What do you think about it? Because right now people are feeling like, oh, this is giving discriminatory vibes. You get what I'm saying? It looks like you're not, telling them that, oh, they're part of, them being a human and all. You're just quickly telling them that, oh, we see you. It's not like we don't see you. We see you, but I'm so sorry, you cannot be part of this.
I don't think there's really anything bad with that rule per se, because if you're talking of sportsmanship, it follows rules and order. So if you have broken that rule and order before, we are also going to turn ours in a way that everybody will see what is happening. So I don't see, well, it differs. A lot of people can have different controversial responses to this. But honestly, if you've broken the rule of nature, first of all, you don't expect us as sportmans in that sense to still uphold ours. We're going to do ours to show you that everybody can break the rules as it ought to, or rather it shouldn't be. But I don't know. As far as it's not like women generally are not allowed to play. It's not like the discrimination is coming from women or men, just trans women. It's expected. Anything controversial will always bring such kind of response. I'm sorry about that. But if they really love the football, the sport or whatever, you can play with the other sets, your former gender.
That's so
play with your former gender. For the love of the sports, right?
Oh my God.
Let me take you through the Nigerian papers. I have the Tribune here with me and the Punch. So I'll take you through the Punch very quickly. The major headline reads, May Day. It sounds like something that pilots will say when they're about to crash, like May Day, May Day. But this is the literal May Day. Labour pushes for tax cut, pension overhaul, and fresh 20-point demand. Tinubu and governors pledge better deals for workers as NLC, TUC insist on new demands. Governors join workers to celebrate May Day in Lagos, Kaduna, and others. AFDB launches $560 million yearly economic support for Nigeria. 73 killed, 393 injured in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway crashes in 3 months. Sport festival arrested Ekiti athletes regain freedom. Above that, we see federal government and VCs under fire over 100 billion naira student loan controversy. Wike Fubara to begin dialogue after Osaba's mediation. Electricity subsidies spending balloons to 762 billion naira. Political showdown looms over FBI's Tinubu's file release. We're still having stories about this student loan stuff. I think the Tribune gave us the exact figure and everything, but that's not what I want to talk about. Let me talk about what's still sounding fresh in that sense. Yesterday was the Workers' Day celebration. And when I was listening to the radio this morning, it seemed as though people weren't feeling the whole essence of that celebration anymore. It was almost like, oh, why are you celebrating us? I mean, we're literally living from hand to mouth in that sense. I mean, we're not appreciated as we ought to in different sectors, both the public and the private sector. So it's almost like, what is there to celebrate? And seeing that the organized labor have come out with a fresh 20 demand, I'm saying that this group are one of the most, would I say, I don't want to use the word oblivious, but they are but they come up with the most demands. And they do it so boldly. Like, I don't care what you're going to say. These 20 demands will be met. Let me see if I can take you through some of them. Yes, it says, among other things, Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress asks for tax cut, better retirement package, reversal of the emergency declaration in Rivers State, salary adjustment, withdrawal of the tax bill, reduction of telecommunication core tariff from 50% to 35%, and upward review of retirement age to 65 for all categories of civil servant, amidst a number of things. Looking at all these demands, they are actually legit. There are things to consider. Though I do not understand the whole upward review of retirement age. I don't know what it was before. It was 60, because they're asking for 65 now. Yeah. Well, I don't know the intention for that, but other things still boils down to the economic pressure that we're feeling. So it's just a means of having members of this union get the best of the society. But it's looking like this is a lot of demand for your present administration. Will they be able to meet up to all of this? Let's see how this story unravels. Let me take you quickly through the Tribune before we wrap up this segment this morning and usher in our guest for our conversation. The major headline reads, federal government summons VCs as ICPC probes student loan disbursement. Yeah, more details on that story. ICPC says NEL Fund disbursed only 44 billion naira out of 200 billion naira received to 293,178 students in 299 institutions. Look at that gap, 44 billion out of 200 billion received. This calls for a lot of questioning. Nigerians react to new SMS transaction fee amid growing discontent over banking charges. Umahi issues stop work order on Shagamu Ikperu Road. I am not quitting PDP, Adeleke tells Osun Stakeholders Forum. May Day, the Tribune still has it here, that Labour rejects tax reform bills and wants retirement age to be 65 years. Governors and others hail workers on celebration, and above that we see National Political Summit, NPSG, inaugurates Daniel Tambuwa, Awolowo, Dosumu and others as coordinating committee members. I'd like to really touch on this one that has to do with the education sector, because our conversation today is around that industry, that sector. And today we just want to look at the whole examination structure, because recently, I think still ongoing, I'm not very sure, the JAM examination has gone, it's happening, some people are writing the exams, criticism about different things in that space, and then there's the whole failure of WAEC students. The education sector already has a number of things it's dealing with. Now to have, how will I put this now, fraud. To have internal fraud still happening shows that we have a very long way to go. We saw this news last week as well, and this is more like a follow-up. And now the ICPC is about to probe this student loan disbursement. When it first came up, I was saying it on this table, people criticized Tinubu's, initiative for a student loan. It was almost like, is it really going to happen? Is it necessary? But I told you that there were some people that did benefit of these things. And now, when it comes to now taking this down to the students, to these people that actually need it, look at the disparity we have in the numbers. From 200 billion to 44 billion is a lot of disparity. So where did over 100 billion go to? Who is responsible for it? How can we check all these things to ensure that these people are brought to books? What's exactly being done? It's a very sad thing, because the essence of this fee, the way the student loan thing is, I think it's taking this American initiative where after, you're done, you probably be paying it and all. Well, I hope. But it's already so annoying, honestly. Where is 100 billion? Where did it go to? Who is eating this money? Money that is meant for students that you're not going to help them repay when it's time for them to repay. It's already demeaning the essence of this assistance that the government is bringing, and there's a lot of questioning. So we're having ICPC probe, this disbursement and the suspected fraudulent activity, and I'm just hoping that this is really brought to books, and it's not just something we see on the papers, but it comes to book, and every institution, every stakeholder, everyone responsible for doing mago-mago in our own word should be brought to book and serve their time, honestly. That's what I have to say. Do you have any comments on
Honestly speaking, see, even when I hear stories like this, I am not even surprised because, again, that's a human being, doing all of these things. Human beings will continue to be humans. I mean, we're humans. It's expected of us to, to be wicked, to be a lot of things, really.
Greedy.
Now, greedy, yes. No, I mean, you already know what this particular loan is for. Why not just do it? Now, all of us, they do ourselves. I keep saying it. Because back of my head, I'm like, okay, how about we just bring in tools that can help us, checkmate this thing, probably like blockchain, so that we know exactly where the money is going to and all. But trust me, when we have humans still put their hands into all of these things, at the end of the day, we will not still see the transparency that we actually even want to see. Do you get what I'm saying? So until each and every one of us start purging our hearts and start being being a very good person, see, we'll continue to hear stories and stories like this, because it's one thing to even bring in all of these tools. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're having the conversation we're having today. It's one of the reasons to bring all of these tools to aid, the transparency that we need. But once we also have humans to take care of these things, they will also find their way to still get out money from it. So really, on the story, I think that, we are human beings. We already know what these things are for. How about you just do it? And instead of you having to, go around to try to collect money or extort.
This is not like a good option. I remember my economics teacher in secondary school used to say something that this government or some of these people that, do fraudulent activity towards money, they're usually not wise. Nobody is saying this is not supposed to be accepted, though. But I'm just quoting him. He's like, even if you want to steal money, don't make the gap so much. It will bring about questioning. Because I'm looking at 44 billion and 200. 100 billion will make people's nose start twitching. So I don't know. It's not like an advice that, okay, you should really steal.
See,
but steal wisely. But
exactly. I've always said that.
Overboard.
Even if you want to do something, when you know that you're doing it, it does not make any sense. And at the same time, you're trying to cover it. How about you do it in a very smart way? But they will not. That's why I told you that day. Even when you want to pass any information and you say, let's be sarcastic about it, these people are daft. They don't know anything. They will not understand the part that you're
smart or no smart. There shouldn't be fraudulent activities in this system.
Actually.
All right, this is where we wrap up the headline stories. If any of them catches your interest, you can still read up on their website. Today's topic is on the Nigerian education system and its examination structure. If you know anyone that has written JAM, currently writing, had written WAEC, anyone at all, even parents, guardians, students, this is a conversation. The government as well, this is a conversation that they should be part of. So we'll take this short break, and when we come back, we'll usher in our guest and go straight to the hot topic. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, so today, as said earlier, we're discussing the Nigerian education system and its examination structure. The education system is undergoing a significant transformation, especially in its examination structure. The West African Senior School Certificate Examination made history as WAEC introduced its first ever computer-based exam for school candidates. And while this move aims to modernize the exam process and reduce malpractice, it has raised concerns about digital preparedness in underserved schools and regions. Meanwhile, labor-related issues have surfaced, with NASU accusing WAEC of breaching agreements regarding staff welfare. And to the UTME story conducted by JAM, it has sparked public debate, and recent criticism revolved around candidates being asked to arrive at CBT centers by 6:30 a.m., prompting safety concerns. JAM clarified that arrival aids verification. In a bid to maintain exam integrity, JAM delisted 5 centers and arrested 27 individuals for impersonation, showing its firm stance against malpractice. And despite these challenges, there have been positive stories. A teacher in Akwa Ibom sat for the UTME alongside his students to better understand and motivate them, demonstrating the kind of commitment needed within the system. As digital innovation takes root, this moment of initiative from within the community stands out as examples of progress. Joining us to unpack this development is Dr. Peter Ogudoro, a respected educationalist and leader of the Nigerian teachers community, from personal experience of overcoming educational barriers to earning advanced degrees and advocating for inclusive education reforms. Dr. Ogudoro embodies the resilience and forward-thinking needed to shape the future of Nigerian education. His insights will shed light on the challenges, successes, and the way forward for the system. Good morning, Doctor.
It's my pleasure. Good morning, Alice.
Good morning. You know, I want to tell you something that we have in common, Dr. Ogudoro. I just completed my first degree in University of Lagos, and I studied guidance and counseling. And going through your bio, I saw that you're also doing that amidst other things. So yeah, we have something in common. Good morning.
Something really great. And you know, guidance and counseling is a major missing link in the Nigerian education system.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's start the conversation. How would you describe the current state of the Nigerian education system, particularly in terms of access, quality, and inclusiveness?
Well, what we know, which is an open secret, is the fact that the politicians who run our country are yet to understand the indispensable place of education in moving the country forward. Education remains the bedrock of development. And it's only when you get it right that the other parts of your national life can begin to deliver appropriately. But in the case of Nigeria, we are still toying with it, and we haven't got to a point where we appreciate its value. The countries around the world who have moved forward, especially those in the Scandinavian region, are countries that have first tried to get the education right. And when you get that right, then you have the right foundation on which you can build and move other parts of your national life forward, especially your economic life. For now, you know that Nigeria is a country that is still under $2,000 in terms of per capita income. Compare that to a country like Norway, that has over $100,000. So you see that the money a Norwegian earns is in 1 year is the kind of money a Nigerian will struggle for 2 lifetimes and he doesn't earn. And what's the difference between Nigeria and a country like Norway, Finland, Sweden? The basic difference is the fact that those ones understood the value of education early, and they have pumped money, energy, and appropriate values into it, and they're reaping the benefits. So with respect to the segments of education for proper analysis in our own country, what we know is that we haven't woken up at all. With respect to access is still very problematic in Nigeria. Out of every 10 young Nigerians who want to go to university, it's difficult for even up to 5 of them to get in there. In terms of governance, we still don't know what it means to think in terms of academic freedom. University professors are not permitted to use their gifts, their knowledge and expertise to run that place in line with international best practice. So you find government and politicians interfering with their work all the time. And so that has made it difficult for them to teach in line with what students need to know to be able to compete at a global level and fare well with respect to their social lives, their economic lives, and be in a position to make appropriate contribution to the development of their country. And if you look at quality of assessment, we are also not assessing well. We are not teaching and learning is not where it should be. We just teach to test. We want children to just cram things and be able to pass exams and maybe get what you people call meal ticket. But that's not what education is supposed to be focusing on. Education should first empower the individual through helping young people who pass through the system to acquire analytical ability, creativity, being able to solve practical problems so that they will be attractive to prospective employers. That's not where we are. Employers in Nigeria are complaining that the people who come out of the university system, polytechnics and colleges of education, as well as the lower levels in terms of secondary school, are people they cannot depend on to solve the problems that confront organizations today. And is it the fault of the young people who are coming out of the education system? The answer certainly is no. It's the fact that we are not teaching them well. And the laboratories are ill-equipped. Those who are studying science and engineering courses don't have the equipment they need to be able to finish and become globally competitive. So in every respect, Nigeria is falling short. And that's a big disappointment to young people and their parents.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I like how you expatiated even on the problems that we are facing in the educational sector, right? So let's start from, what exactly do we do? Where do we start the solution process from? And just as you've mentioned all of the problems, I mean, our educational sector has been, put in a way where you just go to school, come back, and the next thing in your head is, oh, we're looking for a job. Even the job we don't even see. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I feel like the educational sector just building a whole lot of job seekers instead of innovators, instead of people that are ready to even, put into the work and ensure that to be as a country we are more established. And instead of, I mean, you see the economic situation in Nigeria. I feel like one of the reasons why we are where we are is again because of there are no innovators. Everybody's looking for a job. Even when we try to get skills, there are a whole lot of problems, right? So where do we even start changing all of this narrative? Where do we start working on the educational sector itself? Where exactly do we even fall short? Because again, I mean, I remember having a conversation with someone and this person was saying that for us to start having all of this change in the educational sector, it has to start from whoever that is ministering it, whoever that is commissioning it. So, I mean, I want to hear your 2 cents. Where exactly do we even start from? And, what change should be put in for us to, ensure that the educational sector is better than the way it is right now?
Yeah, capacity is key, is very critical. We haven't got the right people in the right places. You young people who blow a lot of grammar, you talk about round pegs in square holes. And so that's what we have in most critical positions in the Nigerian education system. Start with the topmost position, Minister of Education. Yeah, Minister of Education is a professor of nephrology. His specialty is kidney care. He didn't study education. He knows little or nothing about it. He has not, to the best of my knowledge, spent 1 semester sitting down to understand what educational philosophy means, what education should be doing for us, how to teach, how to design curriculum, and how to assess students to know whether or not the system is delivering. And it's not just him. If you move into the states, virtually every commissioner of education is also someone who has little or nothing to do in terms of academic preparation, professional preparation for the job such individuals are doing. So they haven't got the capacity it takes to formulate the right policies that will guide actors in the system, stakeholders in the system to play their roles well. If you go significantly below them, even inspectors of education, most of them, some of them may have degrees in education, but they have not been properly trained because even the professors they have passed through in our faculties of education across the country are also professors who don't seem to be at cutting-edge levels with respect to education as a discipline. And they are not getting enough support from government to go and participate in international conferences where they are able to interact with their colleagues in other parts of the world so that they can hone their skills and come up and recognize where the world is. And so come back here and design appropriate curriculum and enter classrooms and teach in line with modern trends. So that's where we are. Oluchi was calling our attention earlier when she was trying to identify with me as a professional counselor. When she did mention that, I called her attention to the fact that guidance and counseling remains a major missing link in the Nigerian education system. The average Nigerian child, I do research in this field internationally, in the UK, in Austria, in Sweden, in Finland, Norway, etc. And what you find is that in those countries, including the US, and Canada, as well as in most parts of Europe, guidance and counseling is an indispensable part of what the school system likes to put out as tools for helping young people to prepare for the world of work. But in Nigeria, that's not where we are. Even when counselors are trained and deployed to schools, what you find is that school principals change their role. They use them to teach Christian religious knowledge, Islamic studies. They use them to teach Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. They don't let them get appropriate officers, equip those officers for the job that the counselor is trained to do. So we use counselors for the wrong things here. Even when we think they should do some things that have to do with preparing for the future, we just limit their role to helping children fill forms to be able to write JAM, UTME, NECO, WASC, as well as WAEC, WASC. That's not what counselors are primarily trained to do. They are trained to help children to recognize their gifts, their talents, and point them to places where they can find appropriate resources to give those gifts that they have wings to fly, so that they can find fulfillment in what they do. Unfortunately, that is not where we are. And that's one of the reasons why so many people feel frustrated every year in terms of the experience they have in the hands of JAMB. What is the problem? JAMB conducts an exam, and as people are filling forms and making choice of courses, everybody wants to study engineering, business administration, accountancy, medicine, and pharmacy. But we have 1,001 other courses that are there, and very empowering courses that nobody helped these young people to recognize and pursue. As a matter of fact, mathematics is one of the areas where Nigeria hasn't done much to use it as a leverage to empower the country. We are not training and pushing into the education system mathematicians. The average Nigerian child doesn't know the value of mathematics. The average Nigerian child doesn't know the value of anthropology. The average Nigerian child doesn't know the value of guidance and counseling. I tell you, as Oluchi has graduated in guidance and counseling, I'm not very sure that she's hoping to go and sit down in secondary school and do counseling on a day-to-day basis, because the counselors in Nigeria don't seem to have the right, social status. And so every young person who finishes actually wants to set up a YouTube channel, which is where the money is. As you have millions of people who follow you, all the money will start rolling in and you become a social influencer. So we are not in a good place as we speak, but I tell you that if we want to try, we can make appropriate modifications in the way we think and make funding available, which is also one of the very problematic areas when it comes to how we are handling education. We are not funding it well. The money Harvard uses just in 1 year to train probably students who are under 50,000. It's the money we don't even make provision for to take care of a school system that is catering for close to 100 million children in the Nigerian school system. So we are a very unfortunate people. We have got politicians who don't understand what education means. Unfortunately, they are the ones who are superintending the system and pushing us in directions that might eventually take us to where we certainly do not like.
All right, Dr. Ogudere, I'm going to use a Gen Z term for you. You have just publicly shaded me with the whole guidance and counseling thing. But just to let it known here, I mean, it's a course I really did enjoy, and I see prospects in it in future. Maybe not as traditional as it looks like, but I'm sure something great will come out from that space. We have to take this short break now. I have a lot of questions to ask, and today's conversation really want to focus on the examination structure in Nigeria, because there have been so many concerns with the recent JAM examination and even the WAEC result that came out. So when we come back from this break, we're going to open up that segment much more. And of course, Dr. Ogudere will be here with us. So please stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you for sticking with us. We have Dr. Ogudoro join us this morning to, open up the education system in Nigeria, and very specifically for today's conversation, the examination structure. Recently, it's not been confirmed very well, or maybe Dr. Ogudoro will help us with it. WAEC recently transitioned to computer-based testing for West Africa's senior school certificate examination candidate. Dr. Ogudoro, I want to firstly confirm, do I still have you here?
Yes.
Right,
So,
okay.
are you able to? Yes. So, what do you want me to confirm?
Great. So this recent transitioning that we're seeing for the WAEC examination, where it's going to take a computer-based, testing approach. I want to ask this question: how prepared is the average Nigerian school and student for this shift, if it has been confirmed that it's taking this, shift? Okay. Dr. Gutierrez, are you still with us here? Says
Yes, I am. It does look like a bit of network challenge, but
right,
I suspect you're able to hear me now. Are you able to hear me now?
Perfectly, perfectly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so if you don't mind, can you help me recap the question so I can get it clearly?
All right. So the recent transitioning that we're seeing for, at least acclaimed by the WAEC body, to have computer-based testing for students, I want to ask firstly, how prepared do you think the average Nigerian school and students are for this particular shift, if confirmed? We are having another network issue. So we'll bring okay, he's here. Okay. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, so, okay. Yeah, so, yes, indeed, the federal government has the intention to make CBT the primary mode for conducting exams across, all levels, really. Especially in secondary school. The final exam you write as a high school student, which is WASC. The government wants from next year, 2026, to make it fully CBT based. And the implication of that is that for an exam like WASC, which has a variety of parts, there's a multiple choice part we call objective, there is the essay part, and there is also the practicals. They want to do their best to ensure that everything is CBT based. And the argument in favor of this is to minimize examination malpractice, but and then they are trying to borrow a leaf from JAM. But the challenge we have is the fact that they are comparing beans and rice. JAM UTME is not exactly the kind of exams that NECO and WAEC are conducting. JAM is only 4 subjects, and each of the subjects doesn't take more than 40 minutes for you to finish it. And everything is multiple choice. And JAM, again, doesn't own most of the facilities they use for these exams. They borrow the halls and computers set up by private sector organizations. And that's why from time to time, they run into difficulties with respect to corruption. So these private sector people, they set up these places for the purpose of making money. And those who have the money sometimes try to bribe them to tamper with the system. But WAEC keeps trying to make us believe that they have built a robust system that is foolproof. We don't have strong evidence that backs up that claim, because we know that the mercenaries, the people who promote examination malpractice in the Nigerian school system, make a lot of money from their deals, and they tend to walk several steps ahead of these examination boards. And so, having put that on the table, if you now want to start insisting that you do the same thing at the level of WAEC and NECO, where 9 subjects are involved, and a good number of those subjects have 3 major parts: the essay part, the multiple choice part, and of course, the practicals. You might be able to achieve achieve assessment with respect to the multiple choice part, because you just make a choice out of four options. But when it comes to essays using CBT to get children to demonstrate how much they know qualitatively, I do not have reason to believe as a researcher in the industry that Nigeria is ready for that. The reason is simple. You already know that the average Nigerian child is not studying in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. A lot of times, our policymakers get deceived into thinking that whatever works in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt can work in Adamawa, can work in Akwa Ibom, can work in Ondo, can work in remote villages in Benin. Yeah. That's not correct, because the average Nigerian child is not attending a secondary school where computers are used to train him. The average Nigerian child doesn't own a laptop. The average Nigerian child doesn't even own a smartphone. So all of a sudden, you want a child who spent 6 years learning without computer, without even exposure to basic practical equipment. You now eventually, you're saying everything you have been taught in school, we want you to give it to us through a mode that you are encountering for the first time. And they present very illogical arguments that say, you don't need to have a certification in computing to be able to use computer to write exams. But that argument is flawed, because you see, we say that practice makes people to become perfect. So so even if it's just 9 keys you need to know, the more you use those 9 keys, the better you get at using them to solve practical problems. But unfortunately for us, the elites who run the Nigerian school system don't care about the children of poor people in remote villages in our country, and they are not interested in what we call social migration, where if your parents unfortunately have not found themselves in a position where they are economically stable, economically secure, you want to be the one that can use the instrument of education to liberate your family. But these people who are running Nigeria are interested in remaining the only ones who will continue to find money to put food on the table of their families. They don't want children of poor people to know what they know, to upgrade the quality of life available to their families, and then achieve financial independence and freedom, so that they can also unleash their own talents on society, so that all of us can move forward. So my sisters, the summary of what I'm trying to say is that, yes, indeed, it's not a bad idea to think of joining the rest of the world. America uses CBT, UK uses CBT. I have the privilege to study in those kinds of places to talk about, but they didn't get there overnight. It took them decades of deliberate effort, investment, and patience to be able to take their children to a point where they are now asking them to use computers to do exams. First, they started using computers to teach them, and they taught them with computers for decades, and thereafter, they started testing them with computers. Here, we haven't taught the child with computer for one day. We asked him at the end of the entire 6 years to reproduce everything we have given him using computers that he does not understand. So it's very problematic.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I'd like us to, expatiate on this particular, where you landed your point. I like that so much. So, expatiating on it, right, let's talk about, how we can integrate AI and the importance of it. That's one. The importance of integrating AI into the educational sector. How do we now ensure that we carry the marginalized community along? Because just like you said, you cannot compare the students here in Lagos. You can't compare them to the students in certain states. Let me not mention so it doesn't look like I'm shading anybody, but you get the point. So, and how can we? And just like you said, right? All in other countries, you see that there's a lot of funding and all. That's where that's one of the reasons why they are where they are today. Why here in Nigeria there's a lot of funding, but we don't know where the money is entering. You understand? I mean, Oluchi was asking exactly where the 100 billion naira, right, is going to exactly. Even when we see, I mean, there is proper structure on how exactly this money is supposed to be, given to the student. But at the end of the day, you will only still want to ask what exactly was, was the money used for. But then I want to also ask, how do you think the private entities can actually come in? Where do you think the private entities can come in? Because again, I've always said that the government, they have a lot of things in their hands, right? And I believe that, when each and every one of us start coming together to put things in place, to make the world a better place, right? So where do you think the private entities can come in to ensure that the educational sector is way better than the way it is right now?
Well, let's put it on record that education remains government's responsibility. We shouldn't keep encouraging politicians to believe that the private sector should shoulder the responsibility of training children to know about our culture and acquire the knowledge and skills they need to become globally competitive. No, that's a wrong idea. At our level of development, government should consider it their major responsibility to fund education, to provide the capacity in terms of human resources to make things happen appropriately. So we shouldn't let the private sector become the ones who will provide the computers and run the systems that will help you to do assessment. Even if the private sector is going to come in and help, there shouldn't be, their help should not come in at the level of assessment so that you don't compromise the integrity of our examination. Because private sector people are profit driven, and if you bring them into the education system, they will corrupt it, they will make a mess of it. All right? It's okay for them to, by way of demonstrating social responsibility, donate money to appropriate government agencies and probably make direct investment to some schools that they adopt and then help them to acquire computers and probably provide maintenance services over time. But ultimately, it remains government responsibility. And if Nigeria wants to do that, Nigeria has what it takes to make it happen. Unfortunately, our politicians are more interested in taking their girlfriends to Dubai and ferrying them around the world for enjoyment that doesn't move Nigeria forward. And that's not the way to move our country to where we should be. It's a great country that is blessed, but unfortunately, because our political system has been throwing up the wrong individuals to run and be at the helm of affairs in critical sectors, that's why we have remained where we are. So by way of summary, let's not abdicate our responsibility as a government. We should shoulder it and provide the infrastructure, provide the computers, train the teachers, the school leaders, and of course, make sure that the supervision is done adequately so that we can get what our education system has been set up to give to Nigeria.
All right, Dr. Ogudoro, I know you just mentioned something now that, the federal government should take up full responsibility. Some of our politicians, have shady dealings, and that's why we see corruption here and there. But I cannot take my mind away from what the Nigerian Tribune had to say this morning as regards student loans. The federal government summoned VCs as ICPC probe student loan disbursement. And we saw the disparity with the money that was received and the money that was disbursed. Like God's Beauty mentioned, 100 billion naira disparity. And this is not firstly from politicians, at least the way the Tribune plays it out. It means even lecturers, educators, stakeholders in this system are also playing a vital role in that sense to make it look like we're not heading forward in this educational system. So I'd like you to comment on that very briefly.
Ideology is not 100 billion GAD. The government, in the purse of NER fund, if you look at that story very well, you have 203 billion received. They have not disbursed more than 44. So the gap is about 160 billion. It's significantly higher than the figure you mentioned. So look at this, look at the story again. So, and that is, yeah, so that is not surprising to me. I do research in the industry, and I wasn't quite optimistic about Nigeria's capacity to run a loan system that would take care of children from marginalized homes. Politicians always create these systems to take care of themselves. So even if the man at the very helm of affairs, maybe the president means well, the unfortunate situation we have in our hands is that the people he's going to give the responsibility to make it happen are people who are going to, probably put this money in fixed deposit accounts, make profit from it by way of interest, and then hold it there for some time, and they bring it back, and then they can start disbursing. So, and then that's one side of it. Politicians are also very funny people. Sometimes, if you do research in the political space, what happens is that when they need money to run the next campaign, to come back to office or to move to capture power in states where they are not, the great system that will enable them to find the resources to be able to do that. So it's not all the time that they tell you that these things are going to happen, and for these XYZ purposes that you should look forward to seeing those things happen. So, so that's one side of the story. Again, even the university system is also corrupt. Sometimes you also discover that even as this money gets into the hands of vice chancellors and some of the other critical stakeholders within the university system, the money also can, NEFON can send money, and those people can say they haven't seen the money. So at the end of the day, as you people tell us, those of you who know grammar very well, it's the grass that suffers when two elephants fight. So when the university system is fighting with politics, it's fighting with the politicians, is the student that bears the brunt. So I'm not very surprised. That's why this idea, they are borrowing it from America, they are borrowing it from Britain. But those people have better systems. In Britain, Britain will lend you about £9,000 per annum. I did, study in the UK, and I know how the system works in the UK. And they will lend the average student about £9,000 every year for the 3 years you spend in college. And it's only when you graduate and you're earning above £20,000 that they will ask you to start repaying the loan. You convert £20,000 to Naira, you see how much money you have to earn before you can start paying back. And in their case, it's done seamlessly. We don't hear stories about the money has not gone to universities. And every British child who is entitled to it gets it without hassles, and you borrow it on your own merit. Your parents don't have much to do with it. And that's why the average British parent doesn't save money to send children to university, because once you become an adult at the age of 18, which is the age at which the average British child goes to university, you borrow money in your own, personal capacity as a human being, and you go to school, and you pay back only when you earn enough to be able to take care of your immediate family, and then have some leftover which you can use to repay your loan. That's not where we are as a country. So Nigeria is not going to be able to make this happen seamlessly, because we haven't got the capacity to make it happen. So I would prefer that the government goes in favor of funding the education system directly, rather than giving to them money to pay school fees. Let's say, go to high school, go to university, fee free, tuition free, so that we don't have to do this. Send all of this money directly to universities. Let them use it to buy infrastructure and pay good salary to university lecturers, so that we can hire the best brains to stay in the Nigerian school system, the university system, and train our children, rather than dragging children into the whole system. And at the end of the day, we are not able to account for the money. We won't be able to resolve this even in the next 5 years. We haven't got the computing system, the infrastructure. We haven't got the manpower. We haven't got the right orientation to understand why we want to do this, and support the government to make it happen. So people are going to continue to sabotage it, because it's a materialistic society. Everyone is thinking about how much money we will make from whatever government throws up, rather than how we can use what government is talking about to empower ordinary people in the interest of social migration, so that children who come from poor homes can use education to overcome poverty and promote their families out of poverty, and give them financial stability, security, and freedom.
Wow, Dr. Ogudoro, this has been very insightful and we're running out of time, but I'd like us in 1 minute to really talk about the recent criticism that JAMB is facing over early arrival times and integrity concerns as we begin to wrap up the show, because it would not be nice if we do not talk about this. So what's your take on the measures that JAMB is using to ensure fairness in UTME exams as we begin to wrap up?
Yeah, there's no equity in what JAMB is doing. That is a fact of life. There is no evidence that supports the claim that JAMB is being fair to our Nigerian children. The average Nigerian child, as I have said, doesn't live in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. Even those who live in Lagos, sometimes we get deceived into thinking that Lagos begins and ends with Banana Island, Victoria Island, Ikeja, and Surulere. That's not true. The average person in Lagos lives even in Ogun State, lives in Ekpe, lives in Badagry. And those are far-flung places that are very far away from where the city centers are. And it's on record that JAMB requires candidates to arrive at 6:30 a.m. to start clearance for the exam to take off at 8 o'clock. We know the security situation in our country at the moment, and that's an unfair thing to demand from parents and their children. And so we have to end that. We have to reverse it, children. That exam can start at 10. The world won't end because it starts at 10. We can start at 10 and end it at 4 o'clock so that children will have enough time to go back home. Children and their parents haven't got money to lodge in hotels very close to CBT centers to be able to write exams. Even if they have got the money, we also do not have enough hotels in the environments where these exams are being conducted to make it easy for them to get into those places and come out early to do what they're supposed to do. So we shouldn't continue to insist that we are doing what is right when the evidence says that what we have put in place as government agencies is not that which was intended originally.
All right, thank you so much. This has been very insightful and eye-opening, Dr. Ogudoro, and we'd love to have you again on our platform. Thank you for shading me. Thank you to my co-anchor,
Thank you so much,
and to our wonderful viewers for joining us. And sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the official Upgrade TV. Interact with us further and see you on Monday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. through to Friday. Have a great weekend.
Hello, you. Yes, you. This is Usayome Sale from Ways Primetime. Now, we appreciate your continued support for watching our content, following us across all our social media. But we've noticed, for those of you watching us on YouTube, 88.5% of you who watch our content aren't subscribed to our channel. Why? Now, if you are enjoying our content, you enjoy our shows, and you want to stay updated on all things Ways, it's time to hit that subscribe button below. Now, subscribing isn't just for you. It's for the growth of our channel. It helps us get bigger and better. With your support, we can continue to bring even more intriguing and exciting content. How about you subscribing right now and being a part of our community?